Hello, so today I wanted to do a redo of a tier list I did in the past where I'm going to be ranking the silver augments. This is kind of going to be an update because we're around halfway through the set, so I wanted to see if this was something that was interested on my channel. For those that like my content, I'm normally doing daily TFT guides. I also do tier lists on different aspects of the game from time to time, so if you like that content, make sure to like and subscribe. And then I also have my VOD channel. Today I decided to do the reading over of the doc where there was like a lot of ranting about the balance of set 15. So if you want to see my take on the balance of set 15, I go through a very detailed explanation while going through it. But anyways, usually I just do one per set. So this set, I'm going to try out doing two tier lists, one at the beginning, which I already had done, and then an updated one halfway through. I'll see how this video performs. If it does pretty well, then I'll also go through the golden prismatics, but for today, we're just going to go over the silver ones. But anyways, let's go through all of them. AFK, I think that it's like okay to take. The way the set kind of worked out right now, I don't really like things that disable and basically start you off on a lose streak. So I think usually with this set, I think you want to have a decent HP lead because there's so many win conditions that can happen because of fruits and artifacts and things like that, that you don't want to play from too much of a disadvantage unless you have an insane opener. So I would put AFK, even though it gives you a lot of gold, in that B tier. When I rank them from S to D, usually I'm ranking them more on the lines of like B, average, take it if you have a good spot for it, don't take it if you have a good spot for it, and the S and the A's are the ones that I take more often, and S being ones that I very rarely skip. So AFK is in that B tier, not because it's necessarily bad, but like I said, I don't prefer these type of things where you don't get to engage early on stage 2 because I think that you really want HP. Augmented power, I feel like the prismatics are just too swingy. There's so many times you can easily miss on prismatics, and there's very few comps that really love to have a plethora of prismatics, especially later in the game. So I put in B tier. I think if you don't have another option, you're basically just saying pass and you're putting that power into your next augment, which could work out really well in your favor. If there's a bailout, like some of the econ ones like max cap or something else, it can actually like giga win you the game. But other than that, I feel like I'm only taking augmented power if I'm basically saying like, you know, kind of like a push in like a game, like, oh, you know, push in blackjack, you know, oh, you know, I don't like this, I'll just go again, you know, type of beat. That's how I try to treat it. Band of Thieves, I don't know how often I take this. The Thieves Gloves is really good in certain comps, but I think it's a little bit more comp dependent. It's very easily A tier. I do often myself take Band of Thieves, but if I'm looking at a beginner player or trying to rank the augment relative to the other ones, I think it's a little bit situational just because there's not many lines that are very open to certain combinations of units, and there's also some specific items with a lot of the lines. I think Band of Thieves is great when you're playing around like fast 9 or 5 cost and 4 cost kind of metas, but I think it could give you a lot of early tempo, so it's somewhere between A and B tier. I really like it, so I'll just put in A tier because I think we'll probably fill out B with a lot of stuff. Beggars Can Be Choosers, I think, is not in the game right now. We're going to put in D tier. Usually I put stuff D tier just as like a way of holding them, of saying like, hey, I don't need to look at this right now. Best Friends, I put in B tier. It gives you armor and attack speed, so it is good. It does buff the whole board. It is a lot of combat power. However, because it only gives you armor, you really want to be taking it in a lobby where there is a lot of AD. On current patch, there is a little bit more AD because most players are playing Jinx, because that's one of the more strong, quote-unquote, strong comps. But it's not something I'm going to instantly click. It's something I'm going to rationalize based on what is going on in my lobby. And if the lobby has a lot of AP or AD, that can really sway whether or not I'm clicking that augment. Big Friend, I think it's like very dependent on just having a spot for it. Obviously, you just need like a giga HP unit. It kind of griefs your positioning a little bit. I don't think it's that crazy, but it does give you like a good amount of durability for your whole board for a silver augment. It feels like a little bit weak, but I don't know if I want to put in C tier, so I'll just put it in B. Branching Out, my opinion of this is like, I think it's more like I don't like it. I put in C tier. I feel like the emblems, besides certain ones, are very hit or miss, and they don't even have a good angle that you can play with them. I think a lot of the lines are very awkward, especially on the current patch. There are some of them that are win conditions, like obviously like if you had a Crystal Gambit, there's like a chance, but even then, like Ashe is so bad right now that I don't even feel comfortable playing around those lines. And I feel like a lot of the main lines that you would want to play, like besides like binking a Star Guardian emblem, it's really hard. The problem is that it's unless I have really nothing to do, like, or unless I really have no plan for my opener, I'm a little bit skeptical about taking it because it doesn't have the Reforger. Branching Out Plus has a Reforger. This one I think is a little bit better. You can argue that it's B tier, but for both of these, I'm not taking them very often. It's only in certain situations where I feel comfortable. And by saying C tier, I'm not saying the augment is bad, that you click it and you're going to lose the game instantly, right? That's not what C tier means to me. When I say C tier, I just mean that it's a less frequent click, right? If I'm playing the game, there's less times where I'm going to be like, oh shit, branching out, I'm definitely taking that. It's like more so, I feel like a lot of the lines, especially with the reroll outs, are more forced. I think that I'm more leaning towards taking an emblem and dictating a line only if it's like a very specific scenario, like where I have to try and like force something because it's like it's a very forcing encounter or something like that. College Shot I think is great. I'll put it in B tier. This one, it sets your win streak and then you gain 4 gold. The thing is that you get 4 gold, and if you win a singular round, I think you get 2 gold, and if you win 2 rounds, you get a good chunk. So you don't need to win streak with it. You just need to like win 1 or 2 rounds. This one I kind of flicker with. I don't think it's that good, right? You can easily put it in C tier as well, because basically you're trying to win streak with a silver augment that basically is not really doing anything. Right? So like you're down an augment trying to win, but a lot of it comes down to like your pool, right? What I would do is I would look at my, now with College Shot especially, what I would do is I would look at my pool. I would see, are there weak players in my pool or people that don't have that strong of an opener? And if I have a strong opener, I just click this, because if you win 2 rounds with it, it pays like way more than a silver, because you just get so much early gold, right? It's like basically like getting like 10 gold or so if you can win 2 rounds, and that's pretty massive. Especially considering that, you know, you get your econ set up, you're good to go, and if you win any more than that, you're in an even better spot. So usually I put it here. I think I'll put in B just because of that specific scenarios of scouting. My opinion of it has changed a little bit. Caretakers I think is pretty good. I think this can give you a lot of good outs, except I think there's some 2 costs that aren't that great, so I'm gonna put in B tier. Like, of course, like, you know, we can look at the 2 costs. Some of them are a little bit better. I'll go on Team Builder. I think it's a little bit easier. Some of them are pretty good. Like, there are some lines that are really powerful with a lot of them, like Zaya, Janna, even Katarina in certain spots can be good. Rakan similarly. Jin, right? Like, there's options, of course, right? Even like Shen and Mundo. But like, I feel like a lot of them, they're like a little bit awkward, especially with the way balancing has been. That it's not like necessarily the greatest thing to hit, and it's a little bit hard to play around. I wouldn't necessarily say it's like an instant click or like an often click. It's kind of like based on my spot. If I really need to, like if the lobby looks like they're re-rolling and I need to like find a way out, this is like a good option in my opinion. Chaotic Evolution, I don't click this enough. I'm pretty sure this augment is broken. The stats that it gives seem insane for a silver, and it's like semi-tailored, similar to like over 9,000. So like you don't have to worry about low rolling too much. You're probably gonna get something that's good on the unit that you upgrade. I'm pretty sure this is broken. It's just that like I never click it, and I very rarely see other people click it. It's just kind of weird. Like, I feel like I never have the right spot for it, but I think I'm just gonna start instant clicking this a lot more, because I genuinely feel like this augment is very strong. Climb the ladder. If you're playing strictly a vertical trait where you get a lot of base stats, or you want a lot of base stats, this is good. So these are like for your, like, you know, 9-star guardians, 8 soul fighters, stuff like that, where you're playing a lot of the same traits, so you get the value off of it for all of the units. Component buffet. I think component buffet is actually really good. I'm gonna put in A tier. I think that a lot of lines are very specific in the builds that you want to go for. And the items are actually like at a point now where I think that they sway a lot of the outcome. Basically, because the fruit acts as like this really powerful thing, and on a lot of units they have like a very broken fruit. Something like component buffet that allows you to basically select your items more or less is actually very powerful. It also gives you a random component at the start, so you can kind of get your things going, or get your board going really nicely. But I think that it's really good just because, like, basically what you're trying to do is not necessarily make BIS items, but make items that work with a very particular style of fruit. So, for example, if I'm playing Jinx, I want to get Gather Force, or if I want to go Sky Piercer, this allows me to basically dictate exactly what build I'm going and optimize for that build. And because of how powerful the fruits are in certain cases, I think Component Buffet really overlaps that nicely. So, in the case of Jinx, for example, Gather Force really good. In the case of Karma, what's it called, Mage is really good, stuff like that. I think these like when I see Component Buffet, I'm very inclined to click it. Usually I'm not like that. Usually I like to make flexible items and flex a little bit more. But I think that with the fruits, it's way more forcing. Because some of the fruits are just so much more powerful the way the set has kind of worked out, and then the units are balanced around that aspect as well. So it's like a little bit of like an awkward conundrum where certain units are really reliant on certain fruits in order to keep up. A good example is like Samira. Samira, in my opinion, does literally shit all. She like fucking sucks unless you have On the Edge on her. And she's not probably going to get buffed, because if she gets buffed, then she's going to be like Giga broken with On the Edge. And if she gets nerfed, or if On the Edge get nerfs, then there's going to be problems. So you want to make sure your items really work with the particular fruits that you're going, because you can't like make items, fill it in with the fruit, or make items and pivot to a different board, because it feels a lot more narrow right now. And I think that's where that kind of shines. Corrosion, I think it's okay. This is really good if you have like insane frontline, basically. If you have an insane frontline, you're basically going to reduce armor and magic resist. This is flat reduction, so it goes in addition to Shred Sunder. So this can replace Shred Sunder, but it can also be additive and work really amazingly. It is a little bit slow, so you still probably want Shred Sunder. You can't just rely on Corrosion alone. But if you have like an insane frontline that you're playing around, like 6 Heavyweight, 6 Bastion, 6 Juggernaut, one of those, this might be a little bit better. Crafting, I think, gives a lot of rerolls for the items. I'm going to put in A tier. I think I flicker between putting in A tier or B tier. I think it does give quite a few rerolls for just making items, which is what you're going to do anyways. Especially if you're playing in an encounter where you have a lot of items. Think like Scuttle Puddle or things like that, where you get a bunch of components. It works really well, right? And 2 rerolls per completed item. It's basically like saying you're going to get 4 gold for every item you make. And if you imagine, in most games, the average, like even if you low roll your items or the amount of components that you have, you're going to have like 3 item carry, 3 item tank at minimum, which is 6 items, which is 12 gold of rerolls, right? Or sorry, 6 items, which is 12 rerolls, which is 24 gold. And that's like in a bare minimum. And this also scales into late game that you get the rerolls for later as well. So it's pretty good. Like for a silver, 12 rerolls, like, you know, it's a little bit delayed, of course, but you can also use them earlier if you want and make yourself strong. It's pretty good. And you get this at on stage 2. So stage 2 rerolls to spike your board in certain cases could also be a thing. So there's some flexibility there. Delayed start, I think, is just broken. S tier. I never skip delayed start. Like I was saying before, a lot of this set feels like you want to have HP to work with, because there are all of these broken combinations that work out later with, like, you know, if you hit your fruit or if you don't hit your fruit, it can greatly sway your placements. You might have to wait for another remover to try and roll your fruit again. That feels like a big dynamic that is in set 15. So having an early game is like the most broken thing ever. If you can play from advantage, if you can have HP, it unlocks a lot of comps. Things like Soul Fighter, I always say you want to play from ahead. Things like Sorks, I always say you want to play from ahead. Things like Mighty Mech, I say you want to play from ahead. Like all of these comps that are reliant, or 4-cost comps that are reliant on finding 5-costs, they really require you to have an early game where you're making a lot of gold and have a lot of HP. And in addition, if you're just playing any other lines like rerolls or other 4-costs like Jinx or anything like that, having HP and the gold is going to help you a lot, because it's going to make you hit your board and it's going to give you time to like not worry about things. Typically in the past, if there were comps that really need a lot of gold, loose streaking was good. However, because of the way the mechanics work, I feel like there's just too many win conditions that can just happen randomly. So I personally think in this set, one of the best things to do is just try and get as much HP advantage as possible. That way, if things go wrong, at worst, you're still going to get like a 5th, you know what I mean? Delayed start, what it does is it gives you a full board. It gives you a bunch of upgraded 1-cost, which you can play around, which could be great. They can make it to your final board as well. They could be broken. But then additionally, it sells your board and bench. So you start the game off by basically making maximum econ, plus you have a bunch of upgraded 1-cost, which often lets you win streak. So usually with delayed start, you win streak, and you get a full board, and you make econ because it sells everything that was on your bench and on your board anyways. So you basically, like, it's almost as if you're full open, right? That amount of gold econ start. So it's great. And I think especially in the current set, it's something you should basically never, in my opinion, never really skip unless you have like a specific thing you're looking for, like maybe component buffet. Maybe you already have a bunch of upgrades, so you don't want to greed for something else. But like I would click it almost all the time. Diversified portfolio, I find these are a little bit hard to play around. I'm going to put them in B tier. Basically, if you have a lot of traits active, you get extra gold. It works really well if you are playing like a very mixed board. Diversified portfolio with like a bronze for lifestyle board could be good. There's just not many of them that work nicely into late game. If there was like really nice bronze for life boards on current set or current patch, I think these augments could be really good just because you generate so much gold for just a silver, right? If you're activating like 9 traits and you're like have some giga level stage 4 board, you're generating like 3 gold per round on stage 4. A lot of times you can like make your level 8 board and then fast 9 off of it and stuff like that. That was something kind of in the past. Otherwise, you're usually making 1 or 2 gold per round. So I think it's situational of if you have like, you know, a mentor kind of start where you have like 6 traits active pretty easily, then I would take it because you're getting 2 gold per round. That's like very good value for a silver. Other than that, it's like, I wouldn't necessarily lean towards it. Dumbify, I'll put in B tier. I think there's some lines that really like Dumbify, but in general, by losing all your champions and making this dummy, it's really hard because it can really grief your econ. If you have a lot of econ to afford it, then that's fine. But by selling your entire board and your bench, you're basically like all those units that you bought, you're not going to be able to get that gold back by selling them. So they're not going to be on your board later. You're not going to be able to sell them. So then what ends up happening is you're really hoping the dummy kind of carries you. And I don't know if it does in all the cases. Especially if you don't have enough gold, you can often find yourself like having to delay your levels, delay when you buy units, and then especially in like more narrower metas where some of the units are more contested, you can be in a really bad spot because you'll just be like less gold and unable to hit. So I put in B tier. In certain patches where things are really flexible or like econ doesn't matter as much, then it's definitely like a lot better because it does get a lot of value. Efficient shopper. Next 4 carousels, you get a second copy of the champion taken. I don't know how broken this is. I feel like it's pretty good. It's really good if you like hit like certain units that you can play around very easily. Like if you get 2 copies of a 3 cost and you have an instant 3 cost upgrade, or 2 copies of a 4 cost. I would say it's really good if you're like lose streaking. But it's like a fine balance of like when you lose streak and how you lose streak in order to make this like really effective. So I put in B tier. I think that if I don't have a really good opener, I might consider it. Or if I have like, you know, a particular array of 3 costs or like units that I want to upgrade, it could be really good in those situations. It is next 4 carousels. So ideally, if you have a early pick, you can get 2 copies of a 4 cost and 2 copies of a 5 cost. That's where it really shines. But like I said, you have to have a particular situation that allows it. I think like, you know, playing this from like Crystal Gambit, for example, is often a little bit better because you lose streak, you get your cash out, you get 2 copies of a 4 cost. Ideally, it's something that you can use, and then you can like cash out your board and like play something pretty easily, right? I think like in those cases, it's a lot better. Eye for an eye. I think eye for an eye is just good. 3 components for a silver augment to me is good. I often take these. The way that I usually evaluate augments, usually a silver augment gives like around 2 components. Usually a gold augment gives around 3 components, and prismatics usually give more than that. The way that I usually look at that, you know, think about like big grab bag. That's like a classic gold augment. It gives you 3 components and a reforger. So if that's like the basis that I'm using to evaluate, when I look at something like eye for an eye, this gives 3 components, and this one also gives 3 components, right? Getting 3 components, even though they're random, it's better value for a silver, which I like. So I usually consider these to be better in terms of the item giving ones. Now, obviously, they don't give you any gold. Some of the other ones, like, you know, for example, component buffet has this effect. It gives you, it does like random things. We'll see something like iron assets. It's going to give you some gold. There's compensation with the other silvers, but I think it doesn't excuse the fact that these ones just give you straight up 3 components. I think it's just really powerful. I put those in A tier. Find your center. I don't think there's any comps that really use this well. I think Find Your Center is good with like maybe like Darius in some cases, but I don't think it's that crazy. If you have like a Giga frontline carry or a Giga frontline unit that does damage, obviously it's a great pick because you just upgrade that unit. You make them have more damage amp and more health. So I would consider it in those cases. Otherwise, I don't think it's like necessarily good in like all comps, so it's more situational B tier. Fire Sale, I think, is broken. I think it's a really good econ augment. Basically, every round, you're getting somewhere between 1 and 3 gold, and it also gives you 1 gold off the start, which is pretty nice. Additionally, it can work really well with reroll lines. It's constant, which is great. If you level up, you get a lot of value off of it. I think there's calc tables that kind of tell you how much value you would get off fire sale, given like your level. And in general, like if you average it out, it's like 2 gold per round. That's great for a silver, and you don't really have to do anything about it. And it gives you like the potential to play around the units, because it's not like just giving you 2 gold. It's buying a unit from your shop, so you know you can decide if you want to buy, sell it, stuff like that. But either way, same difference. If you get econ, 2 gold per round is just good for a silver. A. Glass cannon. You have to position your units in the back line and they get extra damage amp. I think this is a solid B tier. If you need damage amp, if it completes your board really nicely, it's great. I don't think there's a lot of comps where there's like good value of multiple carries using glass cannon right now. But it's just good in general. If you need that particular stat. So I would put in B tier, because obviously if you don't need those stats, or if you're playing more front centric or melee style carries, or units that you don't really want to lose HP on, it could be a little bit stressful, especially with backline access to this set. So in those cases, I wouldn't necessarily click it. So that's why B tier is situational. Good for something. I don't know if it's A or S or A. This drops a lot of gold. Champions that aren't holding an item have a 50% to drop 1 gold on death. This actually generates so much econ, especially early game. And throughout your game, you're going to have most of your units without items. So it actually constantly will generate you a good amount of gold. I'm willing to say it's S tier. I don't know where I ranked it last time, but this one is a very hard pass, in my opinion, because it does give you a lot of gold, which can be very advantageous to you. So it's somewhere here or here. I'll put in S tier just to fill up S tier, because I do think it's a little bit better than some of these other gold generation ones. Like, I think good for something, in my opinion, gives more gold than fire sale on average, because it works better late game, I think. Actually, it depends. The thing with good for something is that I think, like, I remember hearing this, and I'm not sure if it's fully confirmed, but like to make the 50% chance quote unquote feel good, I'm pretty sure like a Riot dev in the past said that it has a more than 50% chance to drop 1 gold. Now, I don't want to put words into anybody's mouth, so I'm gonna say that, take that with a grain of salt. I've heard it said by other players and good players, and they say the same thing. So I'm not sure if it's a meme or if it's true. In my opinion, I find that it's pretty consistent in giving a lot of gold, so that's why I want to put in S tier. Next we'll have healing orbs. Healing orbs, I think, is B tier. It's like generic combat. It gives you like this extra HP. It could even be C tier, because the thing with healing orbs is that it heals. So I think anti-heal also applies to healing orbs. So this can actually lose a lot of value really fast, especially if people are building like utility items. But we'll put in B tier for now. Iron assets, component anvil, and 4 gold. I think it's solid. 4 gold can help you set up your econ. Usually I'll take this if I'm looking for the econ. The 4 gold is the enticing part. A singular component anvil I don't think is that crazy. It's 1 component for a silver. We've already seen other silvers that can give components, so it's not that crazy, but it's not bad, because the 4 gold can help you to make econ. If you make econ early and you're stockpiling your interest, that's when I would really care. So if the 4 gold isn't helping me do that, then I'm not necessarily leaning towards iron assets. Item collector, attack damage, and ability power for every item that's being held. I think it's in the solid B tier as well. I think if you have a spot for it that you want base stats, it can be good. I think that it's generally underpowered for what it is. I think 1 attack damage, 1 ability power for all unique items is not that good, but it could be good in certain encounters where you have a lot of items. Right? If you're playing this with Scuttle Puddle, for example, you're gonna get a lot of value off of item collector by just like spreading out, making like different items and all sorts of stuff like that. So I don't want to put it necessarily in C tier, because there are some use cases for it. I'll put it there. Item grab bag, random completed item, B tier. If I'm looking for just like a generic silver, this is like the epitome of generic silver. Just random completed item, play around it, go for it. Keepers, I think, is broken, S tier. Way too much value for what it is. Just gives an insane amount of shielding, which basically works as effective HP. And the shield stacks, so if you position with your units all juxtaposed, like touching each other, you can get a lot of keepers value. Additionally, it's also win condition for a lot of comps. Like with Jinx especially, or like Star Guardians, keepers Star Guardians is fucking broken, because they get extra shielding because of the Nico bonus. I definitely think this is still an S tier augment. I think that if you fail to see that it's S tier, I think you just gotta reevaluate how much effective HP this is giving you. Like, it's actually very good. I would click this almost instantly every single time. The only times I don't click it is maybe if there's something that gives me like good econ, or like items if I'm in desperate need of those. But other than that, I think it's pretty much the best combat you can get of the silvers by far. Like the best way to strengthen your board. Kingslayer, I think it's a little bit specific, so I would put it here. It's just a little bit awkward. It gives you a lot of gold, but you basically have to be like lower HP and then you get the gold. You get 6 gold for those, but you basically have to kind of like sack stage 2, which I don't really like on the current patch. So it's similar to like something like AFK, but AFK is just like easier to proc. Kingslayer can like work more into the future, which is nice. It does give 1 gold at the start, but that's not too much, so I'll just put it in B. Late game specialist, I really don't like this. It's really against my playstyle. I'll put in C tier. I understand some people really love these ones. When you reach level 9, gain 33 gold. The thing is that you're taking a silver augment that says when you reach level 9, gain 30 gold. So you have to reach level 9. Now, if you're playing in a lobby where everybody is playing like properly and they're like optimizing their boards, they're slamming items, they're taking good augments, you're basically playing down an entire silver augment, which isn't that much because it's a silver augment, I get it, but you're still down an augment. So you're going to be inherently weaker. Even if your board is strong and has upgrades, at one point in the game where other people have upgrades and have a strong board, you're going to be inherently weaker than somebody who has a silver augment that is giving them power. Additionally, you're also going to be less econ than a silver augment that's giving econ. You're going to be less components, you're going to be less of something. So to say to yourself, I'm going to make it to level 9 and this is going to work out, pretty much this is, I would only consider clicking this in like Scuttle Puddle, for example, or like the Brahmin counter where it gives you a bunch of gold. Areas where it's like very easy to make it to 9, because then you can go to 9 and you'll have an extra 33 gold to roll, which isn't even that much by the way on level 9, but it is like a good chunk of change. The problem is just the conditions of it, and because of that I say that it's really uncommon that I end up clicking late game specialist, just because you really have to have a good spot in order to actually capitalize on it. Otherwise, you're just kind of griefing your own game by putting yourself in a worse spot than everybody else, as opposed to like, you know, for example, instead of late game specialist, where you're going to try and like make it to level 9 to get 33 gold, what if you just took, you know, fire sale, where you just get gold every single turn? You're not only going to get the 33 gold that this promises you, you're going to get it earlier, which allows you to get interest, right? Like stuff like that is where I look at it and I'm like, because it's like postponed till later, it looks like a big number, but it's not as good as like some of the other things, right? Look at AFK, for example. AFK, you get 20 gold. Use that 20 gold, you get that interest, right? After 3 rounds, you're already making interest. You're making 5 like 2 turns earlier, 5 and 5 2 turns earlier. That's like 6 extra gold. You're making like 26 gold. This is only 33 gold, and you have to make it to level 9. You know what I mean? It's like there's stuff like that where it's like I'm not quite sure like how to evaluate in a good spot, because obviously like if you make it to level 9, it is really nice, but that's why I put in C tier. Latent Forge, I think you just rip it all the time. I'm gonna put in A tier. Usually it's a little bit RNG, but some of the artifacts are just not balanced properly. They're just so unbelievably strong. It's an artifact anvil as well, so you get to pick. So this is actually extremely powerful because you can just hit a win condition. Now, obviously, you don't get it right away. You have to wait 8-player combats. If you got it right away, then it would be like it would be giga broken. So it's just A tier, not S tier. Lineup, you get armor and magic resist. I would put it around here. Obviously, if you have a comp, I think this would work really well, for example, with like a full heavyweight board where they have an infinite amount of HP and then they get a bunch of value for armor and you're playing a lot of frontline units. So stuff like that is where I would like it, or a vertical juggernaut, right? I would put it up in B tier there. Lit Fuge, I don't know how good this is. I still don't know. I think last time I did this patch, I was like, I'm not sure. I tried it. It felt like shit. I don't understand this augment well enough to tell you if it's good or not. I'll just put in B tier. I think it's average. Lunch Money, this one's particular. It's similar to like Kingslayer, except this one you have to be really strong. If you're very strong and you know you're going to kill some units or kill some people and do some damage, then you get a lot of gold with it. So it could be a really good econ augment if you're playing from an advantage. Misconnections, I think, is somewhere here for sure. We have hero augments, by the way. I'm going to rank the hero augments with the other ones, but they're going to kind of be relative to how strong I think the hero augments are. So 9,000 volts, in my opinion, I don't think it's that crazy strong. I think Akali maybe helps it a little bit. I don't think it's broken. I think some people think it's like giga broken, like it's like broken really good. I've played it a couple times. It's hard to capitalize off of. I think that the items are a little bit awkward in particular, And I think that the fruits on Kennen, you're really relying on like over 9,000. So I want to put it in like B tier. Now, maybe that's a little bit of like an over, like, you know, maybe that's a little bit over, but I think you have to have a really good spot for it, right? I wouldn't click this without having any copies of Kennen. I would definitely want to have a couple copies of Kennen. And that's what I mean. It's a little bit particular on when I'm going to click it. And even then, I don't think that it's like a complete win out. I think usually you're relying on like other carries to like really capitalize late game, in my opinion. 125, I think this is over here. You get a random component, which is similar on par to some of the other ones. And then you get two gold and 1 5 cost. So sometimes you just click it digging for the 5 cost. But it can also help you if you're playing a flexible board to play around that 5 cost when you get it, like later in the game. Especially if you're playing like a mentor board, there's quite a few that can fit in there. But additionally, 1 component, 2 gold, and a 5 cost. It's really like 7 gold, which is pretty good for a silver as well. 1, 2, 3s. This is pretty good to play around the units. Obviously, like 1 cost, 2 costs, and 3 costs, right? It's also a lot of gold, so you can just take it for econ generation. So I'll put in B tier. Over encumbered. I think this one's pretty good. You get 2 components, but you basically have to sit with only 2 bench slots for the entire stage. It's not that bad, but I think it's decent value for what it is. Has a little bit of a downside, but not too much of a downside, so I'll put in B tier. Pandora's bench, I'll put in B tier. Sometimes with Pandora's bench I put in C tier. I think on this set it's definitely like a B tier, which is like average. Sometimes I'll take it, especially for reroll lines to help you hit early. That's like the main idea for it. If you're playing comps where you want to spike off a 5 cost, it could be really good. For example, if you were maybe angling towards mechs, this can help you out because you find 1 Yone, all of a sudden you're 7 mech and you're like in a really good spot. Additionally, if you're playing like Crystal Gambit, similar idea. So it has use cases like that. Of course, people always try and like, you know, play it for the win condition where they hit like the 3-star 4 cost or the 3-star 5 costs or whatever. In general, I feel like it's very slow, right? I don't think it's A tier. I don't think it's S tier, because it's just really slow. I think the games where Pandora's bench works out, it looks really good. And the games where it doesn't work out, it's like it really doesn't work out. Like you really feel the pinch of it. Like if you like don't hit your reroll in time of Pandora's and then you have to roll anyways because you're gonna die and you need to hit your 3 stars, you just hate this augment. But I think with this set, hitting early is so important because a lot of comps that can hit early, especially like the bug with the Kog'Maw, like Kog'Maw and Monster Trainer that's now like a feature because it's still in the game and it's been like weeks now, right? Those situations where people are just hitting way ahead of tempo, having something that helps you to keep up is really important. And as well as a lot of the 4 cost lines, making sure that you hit your upgrades is also very important. This can help out quite a bit. So it's definitely like a little bit situational. I would treat it more if I don't have enough econ, or if I'm worried about the econ that I have to hit my board, then I would click it. If I think that I have enough econ to hit my board, then I would avoid it. That's kind of like the way that I would play it, because like I don't want to put all my faith into it unless I really have to. Pandora's items, I think is in a similar spot, right? Compared to like something like Component Buffet, I think Pandora's items is just a worse version of it. Right, items are randomized and you gain 1 component. I would rather just like be able to pick them off the anvils. I think that's like a little bit easier. Both of these Pandora's items, they're just generally a little bit slow, in my opinion. It just takes a little bit too much time for the items to get going, and you really don't want to be sacrificing that many rounds, right? Waiting for Pandora's to roll my items and roll my components to good items is just really difficult because I'm sacrificing a lot of turns of making my board purposely weaker. And I think that's really important on this set, that you need to be strong in those early game rounds. I find that majority of the games that go poorly is usually from me starting with a bad opener where I don't have an ability to play around my units, or I don't have the ability to play around my items. If I have an augment where I have to wait for my components to like kind of flush themselves into like better components, then it's like it feels really damning. Now, obviously, I think that because, like I said, with the fruits and the synergies between fruits and items and units is really important in this set, it's definitely not like C tier. They're definitely not bad, right? It's not something that I'm avoiding. I definitely click this on an average case. Like, it's an average click for me. And, but it's not like broken that I'm going to click it all the time. I do click it if I have a good opportunity for it. Like, if I'm playing, like, a reroll comp, obviously it's going to help out to optimize a lot better. If I already have like a good setup that I know that I'm going to be decently strong, that I can afford to greed, I'll take it. If I need a bailout, I'll take it. But other than that, it's more so just like It feels like a little bit, it just feels slow. It's not something like, similar to Pandora's, it's not something you're going to rely on. It's something I'm either going to use to bail out, or if I have a spot that's good enough to afford taking it, then I will take it. But it's not going to be like a very often click compared to some of the other ones. Patience of Virtue, I think, is just an insane econ augment. I don't think it's S tier. It might be S tier. It's S tier or it's A tier. I'll put it in A tier. Basically, if you don't buy any champions, you get 2 free rerolls. Now, it's a little bit of a grief because it does force you to like kind of like sit there without upgrading your board a lot of the time, so it's a little bit awkward. And you often have to lose streak. But with Patience of Virtue, typically, the 2 free rerolls is going to be massive. If you basically don't buy any units, you're getting like significantly more than a silver augment, and it continues into late game because once you like do your main rolling turn, you can basically sit and like gather up some more extra free rerolls in those turns, like leading up to you rebuilding your econ, maybe going to a next level or something like that. I definitely think this augment is insanely strong. I honestly think I'm gonna put in S tier because I'm looking at some of the other gold generation augments. I genuinely think it's better. But maybe that's a me playstyle kind of thing. Because I can see Fire Sale also being up here in S. So it's like, you know, I think this is like what flavor of tea you like best. Like, are you a black tea enjoyer or a green tea enjoyer or a both tea enjoyer? Right? And I'm a little bit more of a green tea enjoyer. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Because I think it's more like preference. I think like, in my opinion, whenever I've seen a Patience of Virtue player, they almost always go first. They hit everything. It's so suffocating if you're playing like if I'm contesting somebody and they hit Patience of Virtue, I'm like, yeah, I give up. Like they're gonna hit. Like, it's so much rerolls. It's so insane how many rerolls you get. Like, it's so much. Perfect Form, I think, is pretty bad right now. Am I crazy? Is it bugged? What did they do to it? I think they nerfed it, right? They nerfed the damage, and now it's just like really awkward on the current patch. I think it's not that good. I would avoid it. I would avoid it unless I definitely have a good spot for it. So I think it's less than the other hero augment. So I'm going to put it in C tier. Placebo, 8 gold is quite a bit. I think both the placebos, maybe placebo 1 can go in C tier. Placebo 2 gives a lot of gold. 15 gold is a good chunk of change. And you could often just take this for the econ. I think placebo 1 is a little bit awkward. 8 gold is pretty good, but it's 8 gold and nothing else. And a lot of other things give you like a chunk of change and like a component or something. I don't know where to put this. I usually flicker between C and B tier with this, and it's a little bit hard to judge. I'll just put in C tier to fill it out a little bit more. I think that's fair. Pocket Recombobulator, I actually like this a lot. Do I want to put it in A tier? I take this all the time. What do people think about this augment? I actually don't know, because I haven't heard. I take it all the time. And a lot of people that I watch take it all the time, but I'm not sure if they take it just for content. But this is just like so nice to streak, because like you're basically taking a 1 cost and instantly converting it to a 2-star 3 cost. That's basically what I do. I don't use it to like hit multiple units. I don't use it to like use on a 2 cost. I don't greed with it, right? I take this, if I have a 1 cost upgrade, I instantly double pocket Recombob and slam items on that unit and use it as like a tempo streak. So it feels like almost like how you can play Heroic Grab Bag, like not the silver one, the gold Heroic Grab Bag. I really like it. The problem is that I'm trying to gauge how good it is after stage 2, because it's good on stage 2, but then after stage 2 it just feels like a waste of time. And you could also low roll the 3 cost, because some of them are kind of trash. So I think I'll put in B tier, but like it's very close to A. I think that if you consider it up here, I would also consider it up there. I click it a lot. Me personally, I definitely click it a lot. Preparation, I think, gives a lot of stats, but it's hard to play around, so I'll put in B tier. Pumping up, I think, is like really good on certain lines where they really like attack speed, but it's a little bit awkward because it takes time to scale. I don't think there's many comps that love it, just because of the way they reworked like mana generation and some of the other things. Before, this used to be like very generic, like you can just take it and help everybody, but it's not that crazy in my opinion, so I'll put it there. Recombobulator, I think, is C tier. I very rarely click this. I feel like unless you have like, I'll put in B tier. I guess it's like more for fun. It's like basically you just you upgrade all of your units. If you have an early 4 cost or an early like 2-star 3 cost, this is like an instant click in my opinion, because you just have like insane things to play around. But the problem is that the 4 costs are so not balanced that I don't like it. That's why I was thinking of putting in C tier, because like sometimes you can take this and hit like an upgrade and they just suck. And then, like, you know, what if you had Ash 2? You had Ash 2, that shit's bit worse than Xayah 2. It's literally a downgrade, right, on the current patch. But, like, in general, it's, like, situational. It's situational, very good. It's, like, highs, highs, lows, lows. So we'll just put in B tier. Reroll transfer. I think this is pretty good. I don't know if it's A tier or not, because you get a lot of... You can't roll your augments, though. So I'll put in B tier. Restart mission. Remove all champions. Gain 2 random 2-star 3 costs. 3 2-star 2 costs. I think this is really good. I'm going to put in A tier. I found that, like, I usually put this in B tier, but I think I should be clicking it more. I think restart mission just gives you so much value for what it is. Because you get, you basically get, like, 6 new units. And it includes 2 3-star, 2-star 3 costs. So it's either a lot of gold, or it's just like a really good setup. The only time I don't take it, the reason I don't take this often is because it doesn't sell your units, right? It's not like delayed start where it sells your units. It gives you the units, but it basically just removes all the other ones. So sometimes if I have a very full board and a very full bench, it feels like I'm getting less value for it. However, if I'm playing a board where I don't have many upgrades, I don't have a lot of units held, I think restart mission is a lot better. So in those cases, it's A tier, right? If you have, like, you know, no upgrades, not much on your bench held, this is like giga broken. But if you have all upgrades and stuff, then it's like, I really can't click it. So we'll put it there. Rigged shop. Is it A tier? How many 3-cost rerolls are good? I think it's A tier, because 3-cost rerolls are pretty strong right now, in my opinion. I think there's a lot of different lines, like Yasuo, Swain is a possibility. The Kog'Maw lines are all a possibility. Jace, Caitlyn is a possibility. And I think even Ahri is pretty good, even without Ludens. But maybe it's a Ludens check. I might be wrong. I feel like Rig Shop is pretty good, because you can hit pretty efficiently. But it's really on the crux of these Kog'Maw lines being really strong. So I think that it's I think it's A tier, because there's enough 3-cost lines where this is something that I'll click and just consider playing the 3-cost reroll variant of something instead of going for like a 4-cost board. Risky moves. You lose 20 health. This one's really scary to me. I very rarely click it. I'll put in B tier. I think there are spots that it might be really good to get an insane amount of gold. But like I said, I really hate being at an HP disadvantage in a lot of these games. Rolling for days, I think is A tier. It's just a lot of econ. I almost always click this. It's just 22 gold. 22 gold for a silver. Like, 22 gold for a silver. Like, we're here nitpicking about, like, oh, placebo gives 8 and this one gives 15. It's like, this one gives 22. Like, what the fuck, man? Schoolyard Justice, I think is the same as Kennen. I'll put in, like, B tier. I click this only if I have a good spot for Garen. Because you really want to have the Garen stacking early. So this is really good if you have, like, a battle. Like, not only do you need to have the Garens, I feel like you need to have Battle Academia in early, or else the Garen doesn't stack well enough, and I think that's, like, really risky. So that's why I put in B tier. Second Wind, I think it got nerfed. I'm pretty sure this is broken still. I'm going to put in A tier, in S tier. I'm pretty sure Second Wind is one of the best combats as well. 10 seconds, your units heal 40% of their missing health. I think it got nerfed, but I think it's still broken. The Destinies. So they nerfed the amount of gold you get on the Destinies. I am clicking these a little bit less. I used to always put these in S tier because basically it's an augment plus gold, which is really strong because, you know, gold helps you to generate econ. It helps you to hit interest intervals. However, I think that's a little bit too risky, and sometimes I skip them just in lieu of, like, getting something that's really not worthwhile. I think if it's like Silver Destiny 1, I often click it because, like, even if you get something bad, you'll be in a good spot. But the later ones, I'm kind of less likely to click them now, just because, like, the gold nerfs, I kind of start to feel it, where I don't really want to risk too much on it. At the same time, it is really good, so it's going to be in that A tier that I'll really click it very often. Silver Spoon, you get 10 XP. I think it's, like, okay. I'll put in B tier. Spoils of War, I don't really like it. I'll put in C tier. You're basically trying to be strong down a little bit, and I feel like the loot isn't even that good, especially with the silver version of it. Stand United, I think if you have a spot for it, maybe, but I don't know where it really applies. This is similar to like building like a Bronze for Life board where you just have a bunch of attack damage and ability power for different traits. Survivor, I put in C tier, similar to some of the other ones. I very rarely click this. It's just like, I don't know, 92 gold after 3 players are eliminated. You're basically saying I'm going to be stronger than 3 players without having an augment. It's the same excuse as late game specialist. I just wouldn't really necessarily click it. Table scraps, I think, is B tier. I think in certain situations it's great. But you basically, for 2 carousels, you get an extra champion and its items. So you're basically getting, I think, 2 extra components and 2 extra champions. It's pretty good for a silver, in my opinion. But it's you're getting left over with the scrap, so it could be a little bit awkward. I don't think it's A tier because it only works the 2 times. Team building, duplicators, if you need duplicators, obviously B tier. Teaming up, gain 1 random component and 2 tier 3 champions. I think that's like in the same tier as B. Titanic Titan, I think, is also B, situational. Usually you take this only if you're playing around like a Giga Lose Streak kind of board like Crystal Gambit. Young, Wild, and Free, I don't even know if this is still in the game, but yeah, I think it's B tier as well, because you also gain the 5 gold, which is nice. And then Tectonic Titan, I also think is B tier. These hero augments, I feel like 9,000 Schoolyard Tectonic, you really only like these if you hit them through Protagonist. They're all really broken, but like you need a good spot for them, right? I'm not clicking it instantly and saying me Malphite, because I do not think that I will hit or stabilize well enough with just these augments. They're not anywhere close to like these ones in terms of power. But anyways, that was me going over the silver ones with respect to the current state of the game. Hopefully that was fun. Like I said, this is a redo that I'm doing, like an updated version. If they don't do well, if this one doesn't do that well, or if people aren't interested in listening to me talk about tier lists on the augments again, because I know it's like really involved and takes a lot of time out of your day to watch, then I won't do the other ones, the silver, the gold, and prismatics. If you want to see the gold and prismatics updated in a similar way of me just repeating it or talking about it on current patch, then make sure to like and subscribe, as well as comment below saying that you would want to see them, because I'm very on defensive if I'm going to redo all of them, because this is new for me. Usually I just do 1 per set. But because I did the other ones really early, I thought maybe I should do a second one like halfway through the set, kind of update it. But anyways, thanks for watching, have a great day, and see ya, bye bye.